Dave Burkett here, along with Sean Windsor. Carlos Menard is adjusting the camera. He's behind the camera today. He's going to join us in a second here, Sean. But Detroit Lions lost 34-30 to the Kansas City Chiefs today. It was their first loss of the season, but I think their best game. I mean, I think it's tough to say you walk away with a moral victory in the NFL, but this was the best that they played all season.
I think the Lions have a right to seek moral victories, right? I mean, the history of the franchise and all that. This poor fan base, look, they actually look like, to me, a team. They didn't look dysfunctional. They looked together. When the fumble return was returned for 100 yards for a touchdown, and they went down 20-16, I think, at that point in the third quarter, and the air kind of gets out. You know, you can just, it gets silent in here. What happens? They respond with a field goal drive after a hard count, by the way, on a 50-yard field goal to get to a 53-yard field goal, and then a touchdown. I thought that was impressive. Showed a little bit of mental toughness.
You agree, young lad?
I think so. You know, I mean, I talked to Kerryon Johnson afterward in the locker room, and he said he thought he was down, by the way, but you know, the refs didn't see it that way. But yeah, he said they were happy with the way that they responded. They came back. They took the lead 2 more times, so they didn't give up. They didn't quit. I think they played a nice, complete game. You know, special teams, offense, defense. You know, the Chiefs are who the Chiefs are. They're an insane, amazing offense, explosive team. If they don't get to the Super Bowl, it'll be kind of a surprise. But the Lions did so well to hang with them, and I think you could sense it in the locker room of how guys weren't hanging their heads. They were quietly saying, you know, I mean, Kerryon even said they're a great team and we're a good team. You know, like they are believing who they are, and I think this shows promise to them going forward.
Well, I thought it was pretty somber and there was pretty quiet, but they did. Players, I think most players did say, hey, you know, we proved, we showed everyone today, except Matthew Stafford. He said we didn't have anything to prove to anyone. So, and look, I think we're, you know, the Lions did. They look good. They look like a real bona fide, you know, playoff contender today. But it's also a little bit of a loser's lament, right? Like, hey, you know, we played really well out there. I mean, shouldn't we be expecting more of this team? I mean, this is a.
When will you be happy, Dave? When are you going to be happy?
I mean, look, they finished the first quarter of the season 2-1-1, and really they blew a game against the Arizona Cardinals that they should have won. And this game today, I mean, they, you know, there were 3 third quarter fumbles, and they had the lead until, you know, 20 seconds left.
If someone had told you before the season, everybody thought this very possible 1-5 start. Someone had told you this team after the first quarter is going to be 2-1-1, and they were going to be leading the Chiefs with like 2 minutes left. I think any fan out there in Lions land would have taken it.
I had the Lions 2-2 after the first 4 games, and so they still have 2 wins. You need to get to 10. That's the magic number in the NFL. So they still need 8. I mean, they were in
the schedule.
In reality, they could have been 4-0.
They could have been.
And they could be 1-3.
They could be 1-3.
Yeah,
and that's the NFL, right? Somebody who works with the Lions told me that when the team was walking off the field, that I think it was Tavon Wilson was talking with some of the other players, and they were like, you know what, we can actually be a pretty good team here. We're not that far, so and you can sense that. And that's going to change the expectation and how nice Carlos and I are being right now. Now that we've seen this, we're not going to be so nice in moving forward if they keep going. Right.
Well, that's what I'm saying. They played a very good ball game today. Best game that we've seen all year.
Yeah, and maybe 2 years. Right.
Yeah,
I mean, really.
Best game that we've seen them play. Well, Dolphins last year, but considering the opponent, this was the best game.
Chiefs are an elite team.
Yeah.
Like you said,
I agree.
There's this much elite, this much terrible, and then a bunch in the middle. The Lions are closer to elite. They're not elite, but they're closer to that than terrible. So that's a step in the right direction, you know. But you're right, Sean. I mean, we're gonna hold them to a higher standard because of these games. They've shown that, you know. I think now in Green Bay's got to be scared. This would have opened a lot of eyes in the NFL, looking around like, wait a minute, what? The Lions are beating the Chiefs? What? Third quarter? Fourth quarter? I mean, even though they lost, people are going to look at this game very carefully and say the Lions are not a joke.
And to me, what's interesting is it's not that they have great players all over the roster, but they have a lot of good players at this point. But Patricia talked about this after the game about the kind of fighting through the adversity, the mental toughness, and I think he's right. I know that can sound like coach speak, but they do have a certain amount of. There's something about them, right? There's just, you can't put your finger on it. They are, and we're not used to seeing that here. I don't.
Used to it.
And maybe you're right, Dave. Maybe that leads to 8-8 or 8-7-1 or whatever, right? That's possible.
The sum is greater than the parts.
It's starting to feel like that, and that's what they want to bring from New England. All this, I almost cussed. Sorry. All this stuff about New England coming from New England and all of that, what they're trying to import. It's how they responded today after that fumble. That's what they're trying to bring from New England, and what we saw in the third quarter. It's that essence of that.
Look, I think a lot of it is Stafford. I think you got to give Stafford some credit for the gutty performance that he had today. Obviously, wasn't 100%. He lost the fumble. That's really about the only mistake that he made. You can take that's a pass or two that he wanted, but I 3 touchdowns. I thought he played really well. And let's give the coaching staff, Patricia and the coaching staff, a lot of credit too, because they were really shorthanded in the secondary.
Right.
No Darius Slay, Quandre Diggs gets hurt in the first half. The game plan that they had just to come out the way they did on offense and what they did against Mahomes. This is the second time he hasn't thrown a touchdown pass since he became a starter.
I mean, they held to 27 points, and I know that sounds crazy to say 27 points, but consider how explosive this offense is. Right.
So, and that's why, again, I think excellent. I don't know about excellent, but it was a very good game by the Lions. They didn't win, so I don't want to say excellent, but it was a very good game by the Lions, the best that we've seen. But it leaves me wanting a little bit more because they were so close.
And they have time to show it. Would you agree, Carlos?
To show
a little bit more.
Oh, for sure. And I think they're gonna. I would expect them to, if nothing weird happens, I would expect them to beat Green Bay, and probably even Minnesota when they come here. I mean, before I wasn't so sure, but I don't think the NFC North has looked amazing. Even though I think technically they were the best division of football.
I don't know if they'll beat Green Bay, but maybe Minnesota. But yeah. They're not going to get blown out.
This is a big home field advantage too. I mean, it was loud today. Fans were into this game. I think everybody was hyped to see the Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes, and it showed. And the Lions fed off that, and that was a big factor today too. It really was. I mean, sometimes sometimes the home field advantage in the NFL, it doesn't mean much. When teams get off to slow starts, and we've seen the Lions get booed here, but I think it gave them a huge lift.
I think that's the shame of the Lions. As much credit as I give Lions fans for sticking with this team for decades and decades. It's a shame that they don't take advantage of it because we don't as much as possible in the dome, because we saw in 2014 when they had a great defense. It was crazy loud in here. It was so hard for teams to come in and play. And this is a little sampling of what can happen once this team gets rolling. People are going to start believing more in them. And I don't care what you say. I don't think anybody felt bad. Even if you're a Lions fan, yes, you would have wanted to see a win, but you don't feel bad about this. You feel kind of encouraged.
Right, it's the opposite of the Cardinals game where you walked away.
Absolutely, yeah.
It felt like you lost, and you come away feeling pretty.
What it does, I think, for a lot of folks, is solidify what they've seen the last couple of weeks. The Gutty went over the Chargers, making the plays late in the fourth, and then again last week in Philadelphia. To me, it builds on that. It's like, oh, was that a fluke the last couple of weeks? Did they get lucky? You watch this today, and you think, well, they got a little lucky, but maybe there's something else to this.
I think this is one of the. Tell me, because you've been to all the games, and of all the games, the Chiefs were shorthanded, and the Chargers were shorthanded, and the Cardinals are who they are, or whatever. But do you think this game, going forward, it feels like you might be able to point to this game further down the road that they almost beat the Chiefs, and they hung with them pretty close. The other games, I don't know if it says that much about the team.
No, not about the Chargers, because I think the Chargers game, you kind of walked away saying they lucked into it. In the Arizona game, you walked away feeling bad about it. Philly, I give them credit. You win on the road in Philly, that's a good win, regardless of how shorthanded the Eagles were, because I think every team is shorthanded in the NFL, right? No Slay today, no
Amendola,
Deshaun Hand, hasn't played all year. So there's teams do deal with injuries, but it's kind of like we talked about on Friday that good teams, you have to get some breaks to get to that 10-win mark and be considered a good team, but you also have to take advantage of them. And the Lions did that early on in the season when they weren't playing their best football against the Chargers and really against the Eagles some too. And then today they played really good football. They just didn't close it out at the end there. Big fourth down conversion by Mahomes. Looked like there was a little bit of a defensive, breakdown on the play. So there'll be some things that they're kicking themselves about as they go into this bye week. And let me ask you guys this too. All right, let's end it on this. Matthew Stafford again. I thought he played a really good ball game today, but how much concern, if any, is there right now about Matthew Stafford going forward? Look, the hip injury, we don't know exactly what he's dealing with, but he had the back last year. He didn't look good at the end of last year. The Lions gave him all this time off in the preseason. Now he's dealing with the hip injury today. He played through it. I know he's got a bye week coming up, but is that a red flag at all? Is there any cause for concern? He's going to have 12 straight games when he comes back. He's going to have to deal with what? We don't know. Injuries? Is there something that we're going to have to keep an eye on going forward, that the Lions are going to have to keep an eye on going forward?
I think that one thing that we saw, one thing that I thought was cool for him today was when he gave up that, the fumble. He lost the fumble. They were, close to the goal line there. And you could tell it bothered him, and he came back almost re-energized. Like, I'm going to come back, and he ran with his shoulder down on a play. He seemed like I got to make up for this. I love that fighting spirit in him. But it is 12 games. How many sacks did he take? 3?
Took 4 today. I think
4 sacks. He got taken down a couple times harder, even on non-sacks, lowering his shoulder. That's really cool stuff. But Can you sustain that over 12 weeks with a back injury, with a little hip thing? Everybody's dealing with something, but it's going to be hard sledding for them. For Stanford, Stafford's game is kind of a little bit of a more tough, stand and deliver, stand in the pocket, take a few hits once in a while. The offensive line done a great job with a clean sheet the last couple weeks, but this is a big concern. 12 straight weeks. The bye comes too soon for them this year.
And they're going to have probably three short weeks during that. One after Green Bay against Minnesota, right. 6 days. Thanksgiving will be a short week, and then the Denver game could be on a Saturday. That's
if Danielle Hunter doesn't kill him, then maybe he's safe the rest of the way.
Just look, this is what I would add to that real quickly. If he was beat up today, the level of his play, right? I mean, look, when he plays like he did today, he's about as good as anybody in the league on any given day. Some of the throws he made. Did he throw a ball all day that even remotely looked like an interception?
He threw a couple.
Skipped the one. No, that touchdown pass to Kenny Galladay
was unbelievable. The pass he threw to Hawkinson that Hawkinson dropped in the first quarter was pretty crazy. The one down the sideline at the end to set up the second touchdown to Galladay, that was the haul.
Right? Gets some nice tight
over the
windows,
and he steps up and when he's rolling like that, he's pretty good.
He is, but again, we don't know how much that injury will affect him. We don't know if he'll have Hawkinson going forward. Who knows? Hawkinson obviously left the game today. Pretty serious injury, at least it appeared. He had a concussion. Didn't go to the hospital or anything, but Matt Patricia said he was in good spirits afterwards. I think the bye week comes at a good time for them so they can get healthy. But like you said, 12 straight weeks after this, we'll see how that impacts them going forward. So. That'll do it from us out here at Ford Field. Again, 34-30. The Lions suffer their first loss of the season, but I think they come away feeling pretty good, and you should feel pretty good about what they are too. This is a legitimate playoff contender, and we'll see over these final 12 weeks, over the final 3 months, if they can make it happen. For Sean Windsor, Carlos Monarez, I'm Dave Burkett, Freak.com.